The Monday Morning Quarterback, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series, talking all things football across North Jersey. The new season is here. Season 5, Episode 1 of The Big Show here on NorthJerseySports.com. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by the same group that left you last year at MetLife Stadium after the state finals. They are chomping at the bit to get back here talking some football, and we welcome in our North Jersey football insider, Jim Avatable. What's up, Jimmy?
Hey, what's up, Court? Seems like yesterday we were all walking out of Giant Stadium exhausted and putting another season to bed, and here we go again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I left first. You always stay until the bitter end. You're always the last guy out of that stadium. You love football season, and I couldn't wait to get in the car.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was exhausted for a couple of days after, but it's always fun.
Yes, we got a lot of new stuff to talk about, and we will also do it with our other North Jersey football insider, the one and only, the newly minted staff writer at NorthJerseySports.com. He is Brian Carr. What's going on, Bri?
Hey, it's great. Good to be back and to kind of pick up where Jimmy said, last season was great. We went down to the wire in the last game, so, I'm ready to get back into it. And so far, so good. It's been exciting so far for 2 weeks in.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So let's jump right in here with the new season. Let's set up the show that we have coming tonight. We've been away for a while, so we figured we better pack the guest list in a show that we were supposed to tape last night, but due to technical difficulties here at NorthJerseySports.com, we had to scrap it in favor of today. So we will have Mike Quick, the venerable voice of high school sports in the tri-state area. He's got a new gig on ESPN radio. He's going to talk about that. He's going to talk about what's been a pretty wild first, if you count 0 week, a wild first 2 weeks of this football season, especially on the parochial side. And we're also going to talk to DePaul offensive coordinator Nick Campanile, whose team pulled off a shocker last week after losing to Bergen Catholic in 0 week. They came right back and beat defending non-public state champion Paramus Catholic last week. So it's a great time to get him on. We will also talk a lot of public school stuff. Brian Carr was out at the Westwood versus Mahwah game on Friday night. I saw a barn burner, Cresskill 7, Saddlebrook 6 on Saturday afternoon. Jimmy was out and about. We'll talk all about it. But let's get initial thoughts here. Jimmy, maybe a couple of wider topics that we should talk about before we get into the meat of it. What have you seen in the first 2 weeks, your first impressions of the 2017 high school football season?
Well, obviously, we talked about it a couple of days ago. We've gone to a bunch of scrimmages. We've gone to 2 weeks of games now, and the one thing that keeps coming back are the lack of numbers in programs. We were at the Demerich scrimmage against Asperkite about 3 weeks ago, and we were a little bit surprised by Demerich only having 5 freshmen go out for the freshman football team. So,
yep.
That's, I think right now that's the big target, that numbers in North Jersey continue to dwindle.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned, I was at Cresskill Saddlebrook. That was a Group 1 tilt, and numbers were hard to come by there, too. I want to talk about that a little bit later because Kevin Quinn, the head coach of Cresskill, had an interesting take on that situation, but we'll save that for the meat of the show. Bri, how about you?
I think to stay with your point, it's always good to keep continuity. I think, we were having some conversations about, maybe some of these schools got to look at co-ops because, the numbers are down. That's public. The other thing on non-public is what we think. I think the pie is getting chopped up into smaller pieces, and, the non-publics are, you're seeing the spreading of the talent across more teams. So there's no dominant program amongst all these, we call them the Big Six. So that's something I've noticed. I think Jimmy's noticed it too.
No doubt about it. You're feeding 6 programs now. Back when this all started, when the non-public started to take, that thrust toward the national schedule and everything, there were 2, maybe 3 big-time programs. Now, a bunch of others through, some didn't want to join the arms race. Some were forced to do it. Some jumped in willingly. But same talent pool, few more programs to supply. So All that stuff is in the offing. We're going to talk more about it a little bit later on. All right, gentlemen, it is time for our first guest of the season, the brand new season of the Monday Morning Quarterback. Our first guest here, it bothers me every time I think about it because we had him on last year. And he kind of made fun of the name of this show because we taped it on Monday nights. We didn't play it until Tuesday. This year we were supposed to tape it on Monday night, same thing. We had some technical difficulties. We had to wait. Now we're taping Tuesday night. So, Mike Quick, you ripped apart the Monday Morning Quarterback last year. You were 100% correct. And you still have the gumption to come back on the show. Welcome, pal.
Well, it's great to be on called Wing It and a Prayer. It's a great show. Why wouldn't I want to be on it? But, hey, listen, when you got three guys like you talking high school football, why wouldn't I want to be on it? The passion that you guys bring every Friday and Saturday is unbelievable. So it's great to be a part of it.
Well, you're already paying dividends because next week this show will be called Wing It and a Prayer. Thank you. Speaking of shows, though, when we had you on last year, you said you had some things in the works. It looks like it has come to fruition. I know a lot of people, were missing you around the not only Bergen County, NorthJerseySports.com coverage area sports scene, but also around the tri-state area where you have a huge following. Catch us up on what you're doing now.
Well, every Saturday morning at 8, I'm supposed to go from 8 to 8:30, but I've done the ESPN 98.7 high school football report outfitted by our good buddies right over there in Saddlebrook, GMA Sales. Supposed to be on for a half hour, but I've already gone long in both the first two shows. So we're really going to call it from 8 o'clock to about 8:35, and we just rip around the tri-state. The greatest feedback we've gotten so far, and Jimmy, you said it to me when we went out to breakfast after the shows the first 2 weeks. It's like you need more time, and Tim McCarthy, who's up there in Bergen County, he runs the whole 98.7 New York radio station, and maybe next year, he loves this football stuff. Maybe next year it is an hour, maybe it's an hour and a half. So we'll see. I know that there's a thirst for it. I still have that passion, and like you guys, it's like, is there anything better than watching and covering high school football? It's just a terrific, terrific thing.
No, I know. Every week over the off season, I have to just text Jimmy and make sure he's doing all right. I give him a countdown. Pal, it's going to be all right. Games will start again soon. We're gonna make it. We're gonna do it together, pal.
There you go. Exactly.
Well, Jimmy, lead him off. You know Mike better than any of us, so take him where you're going to take him here.
Of course, Quickie. I know you guys. You're on at I believe 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings.
Yep.
Yeah, 8 o'clock. And if you're a fan of football, obviously Mike would love to hear from you. You can call in and ask some questions, and he'll give you an honest appraisal of what he thinks. Let's start it off by talking about the parochials. Anybody that's into parochial football in North Jersey is looking at the records. They're all at 1-1. They're all tied at 1-1. And, the question becomes, is it parity, Mike, or is it that everybody has serious flaws as a football team?
I think a little bit of both, but I think the biggest thing, it's overhyped. We watched Bergen Catholic in the preseason, and some preseason polls around the country had the Crusaders at number 7. And, boy, I tell you, I just didn't feel it, didn't see it. Watching them against Seton Hall, and, yeah, it's a scrimmage, and I never pay attention to scores or anything like that. If you put a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you what the final score was of that game. It doesn't matter to me one bit. But one of the things I noticed right away was, and I walked out of the game with you, Jim, where was the wow factor? If you're going to be ranked that high, you got to walk out of even a scrimmage saying to yourself, wow, I never got that day. Never got it. So, look, it makes absolutely no sense. Let's put it this way, guys. There's going to be a lot of people this week a little worried on the corner of Oradell and Forest because, when Paramus Catholic beat Archbishop Wood by 20, that was supposed to be an uncontested layup for Bergen Catholic on Saturday afternoon. And if you lost to that team, obviously Nuns is going to have their attention this week. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know anything about Matter Day's, personnel. But if Matter Day can run the football, Bergen Catholic's coming home 1-2. There's no question about it. Because while the team does have an identity on offense, they're still, in 2 games, you've given up, 27 points in each game? Now you're playing the number 1 team in America. I think, again, no coach is ever saying, put me number 1, put me number 5, put me number 7. But I think the toughest thing that happened to Nunzio and that staff this year was the preseason expectations were so high for Bergen Catholic. They're a good team, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing close to the parochials in the state of New Jersey. No Publix, anything like that. It's just the nature of the beast now. But I just didn't see the number 7 team in America when I watched them in scrimmages. You know, they played well offensively against DePaul. You know, if Ronnie Hickman plays for DePaul, everyone's going on and on about him on offense. And Jim, we stood there. If he's playing in that game, I think Bergen's still going to win the game, but they're not going to score 47 points because Hickman's going to make a difference on defense.
Yeah, Mike, there's no question, Mike, that, you know, Bergen's offense is way ahead of its defense right now, and obviously Greg Toll there trying to work out some of the kinks. But, you know, the success to bringing it to Bergen has been the ability to run the football, and obviously DePaul did it to a degree, and Archbishop Wood was a physical football team, and they were able to keep the ball away from Bergen. I mean, that is the recipe, you know, that seems right now to be Bergen Catholic.
No question. You know, it's funny. And I saw this in the preseason when I watched Don Bosco against Bethlehem Catholic. What Bosco does offensively is the strength of Bergen's weakness. They can run the ball. Now, if I'm playing Don Bosco, I put 11 guys in the box and say, okay, make the young kid throw the ball, 30 times to beat them. But Don Bosco's strength is Bergen's weakness. Now, that game is still, ways away, but I'd be surprised. That game's October 27th. I would be shocked if there's any team playing big boy football in northern Bergen County that has just one loss on Halloween weekend. I don't see it. I see these guys clipping each other every other weekend.
Yeah, and that's...
I'm going to say this at the end, Cor. I know it's crazy, and I said this in 2004 when Don Bosco annihilated Bergen Catholic week 2 after Bergen opened the season pushing that playing against Ridgewood, Chuck Johnson. I still think it's the biggest win he's had coaching up there. And I remember walking down the hill, and I said to Jimmy Cavallo, I just saw the best team in the Tri-State. Jimmy's like, you really like Don Bosco, huh? I said, yeah, I do like Don Bosco, but they're not close to as good as Bergen Catholic. I think when it's all said and done, the best team is still going to be DePaul at the end of the year. Unfortunately, they're not going to get another shot at Bergen Catholic, so
yep.
There's something about this DePaul team I really like. I really do. I really do.
Well, we said this a little bit last year, and I think it's taken on more of a proper note this year. Is like you just, this regular season, it doesn't matter. They're all going to make the playoffs. Obviously, Joe's and DePaul are going to go their own way in the state tournament, but everybody else is going to be in there. Let's just play the tournament now and see who's the best team. One and done, and let's go. You could almost save ourselves a little bit of time, but we'd have less to cover.
I got to be honest. I like the regular season better, especially the games at MetLife. It's too big.
No, I agree with you.
You're right. I like the regular season. I like the intimacy of their home fields and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it's the way we get treated in the media. Nobody cares about us. But, you go in there and they treat you like criminals. Stand in the corner, do that. They rush the kids in and out.
Yeah.
But listen, it's going to be a fun year, no doubt about it. But I think, and I talk to Jimmy about this all the time, I think New Jersey parochial football is a bit like New York City high school basketball now, where people still refer to New York City as the Mecca of high school basketball. It's not even close.
No.
There is much more football talent in New York City than basketball talent. And I think in northern New Jersey, I think some of these teams are living off the reputations of their forefathers in the last few years, and definitely some of the players.
Well, let me ask you...
The over-recruited and over-hyped players is insane.
Let me ask you this, though. Is it a matter of the talent pool shrinking, or, as Brian said at the top of the show here, you got more teams to fill now. So there's not the concentration of talent in 2 or 3 big programs. You're trying to fill 6 or 7 rosters now.
Yeah, but go back to the 2009 draft. There was a lot of players that were spread out all over the state. You had 7 players drafted in the first round. Those kids 4 or 5 years earlier were terrific all over the state. I don't know what it is. I do think this. I do think kids read their clippings now more than ever before, and I think one of the biggest problems is they don't play for the moment. They play for the future. They're already looking to college while they're juniors and seniors in high school, and these should be some of the greatest memories of their lives. And you have kids asking out during big games right now. For what? To save yourself for college?
Right.
Say you don't roll your ankle in your first practice when you get to college. So,
yeah, this might be the biggest game you ever play.
Problem right now. Yeah, exactly. It might be the last game you ever play.
It's true.
And
hey, Mike,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask you. You mentioned DePaul, and we saw them together in a scrimmage. I was just wondering what you thought. You mentioned them before. You thought they, were a good team and potentially. What you're thinking on DePaul, and what do you think now that they beat Paramus Catholic?
He's the best quarterback, Roberson, in the tri-state by far. His recruiting is going to go through the roof. He can make all the throws. He's smart. When he gets flushed out of the pocket, he's that proverbial point guard with his head up, looking to make the throw, not looking to make the run. We did see some toughness that I didn't see in the New Rochelle game scrimmage against Bergen Catholic when forced to run. Jim, you saw it. He can put that head down, and he's a lot tougher. I knew he was a good quarterback. I didn't know he had that toughness. You have Vinny DePalma, you have the kid Banks. They have so many. I don't want to say so many, but the guys they put on the field that start, they're special. They really are. So I like them a lot. I know you're going to have Nick Campanile on the show later. Did a wonderful job calling offense. In the New Rochelle game scrimmage, I didn't see the game against Paramus Catholic, but does a great job, obviously, rolling up points. And I thought, being underhanded, undermanned, I thought he did a nice job calling the game against Bergen Catholic as well. So I am really high on the Spartans, really high.
Just out of curiosity, have you seen a public school team yet that you like, or are you not?
Just in New York City. I love Erasmus Hall.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
I know this show doesn't go into the Big Apple.
Did you hear the crickets when you said?
Yeah, but you want to know something? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to blow your mind about something. There is not one team in northern New Jersey playing big boy Catholic football that has 6 seniors verbally committed already to Division I schools. Is there one? Think about it. Erasmus Hall, New York City, has more Division I recruits than all the big boys playing Catholic League football up in northern New Jersey. I guess, you know what? Hold on, let me think here. St. Peter's, you have 3 going to Notre Dame. Fordham doesn't count. That's 1 AA. You have a Rutgers. That's 4. It's close. I think Erasmus Hall. Think about that, guys. You're all sports fans, but I know you live. Think about that statement, that New York City, known for high school basketball, there's not 6 Division I recruits in high school basketball in New York City in the public schools. Erasmus Hall has 6 on 1 football team.
That's crazy.
More than any team in northern New Jersey. It's unbelievable.
Wow. Listen, you come on this show, you hit a home run. We promised you we'd keep you 10 minutes. We're well past that. You got the show on ESPN, and, we got to have you back. So I don't want to...
Guys, listen, for any time, you guys are the best. You're the best. You run around, you hustle, you make it fun. You have to deal with Pat Rice sometimes. We love him, but my gosh, you get a life story in 5 minutes.
Yes, there's a definite Pat Rice time limit. It's fun. It's always fun to reach that limit, though. Definitely when you get there. But Mike Quick, not that you need it because you're the best at what you do. But good luck with the ESPN gig. I'm sure it's going to be 4 hours by the time this thing's all said and done. And maybe you'll have Jimmy on one time there. He can lend some.
I would love it.
Some support and some knowledge.
In all seriousness, no better wizard of football than Jim. He's the best. I learn so much from him every week.
Just don't steal him from me. I get him his press pass.
I won't.
Mike Quick, thanks for joining us on the Monday Morning Quarterback. A pleasure as always.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, great stuff there with Mike Quick, and we are going to move on now to a coach with, a great win, maybe a program-changing win just under his belt this past weekend as we welcome in on this edition of the Monday Morning Quarterback, DePaul offensive coordinator Nick Campanile. Coach, thanks for joining us here on the Monday Morning Quarterback.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, listen, it's a great time to have you. I have it written right here in my notebook. DePaul 35, defending non-public Group 4 state champion Paramus Catholic 14. So before we get into the specifics, just talk about what it's been like around campus there the last couple days.
It's been a pretty good experience. Friday night was great. We had a great atmosphere there. We must have had 200 students. As you guys know, we're not a very big school, so I'd say half the population of the school was at the game. So, but it was great. Friday night was awesome. We enjoyed it Saturday, but since then we've really moved on. It's the type of league we play in. You can't be too happy for too long.
Right.
You got to move on, and we've already moved up to Don Bosco, who we play not this weekend, but the following weekend. So.
Yeah, well, we may have.
A great one.
We could have had you on a little bit closer to the victory and the high spirits, but of course we had technical difficulties last night, so we have to. Right. We're catching you in preparation mode rather than celebration mode. That's understandable.
That's right.
But Jimmy, you were responsible.
Like 2 weeks ago.
you do age quick during the football season, I bet.
No doubt about that.
Jimmy, you are responsible for getting Coach Campanile on this show. Take it away.
Yeah, Nick, I know obviously last year you guys go to the state final. You play St. Joe's, very, very talented St. Joe's team. You give them all they want. They came out on top in a very close game. You guys return a lot of that team this year. We were at your New Rochelle scrimmage. You were missing a couple of players. And, a lot of us thought going into Bergen Catholic that you really had a shot to, pull off the upset. It didn't work out. But offensively, with your skill kids, obviously everyone knows about your quarterback, Juan Robertson, Vinny DePalma, your tight end, Liam Cabri, who had an outstanding game the other night. And obviously Ronnie Hickman did not play against Bergen Catholic. He came back against Paramus Catholic. But I think the thing that impresses me the most is your offensive line.
You know what? Yeah, they're a great group of kids.
You come in Bergen Catholic. The game we spoke a little bit before the Bergen game, and the game plan was if we felt Bergen Catholic could be beaten, it might have been by controlling the ball. You certainly ran the ball effectively against Bergen Catholic, and you did it again the other night against Paramus Catholic. You pretty much dominated the line of scrimmage. If you can, talk to us a little bit about your linemen and how they've come along since last year.
Yeah, you know what? They're a great group of kids, selfless group of kids. And I think this thing that, obviously they're very talented players, but I think the thing that gives us a little bit of an edge is the experience factor. We returned 4 starters up there. All of them, they didn't just start, they played every game, every snap of every game, all 4 of them last year. So, that's a really hard thing to find in this league. Whenever you have, that amount of talent and that amount of experience, you should have good results. And luckily, so far, we're able to do that. So.
Brian, you were...
and
go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to throw it to Brian because Brian was at your Bergen Catholic game, and obviously, a wild swing between, season opening loss, and it could have been like, we're close against the previous Big 5, now Big 6. We're so close to getting there, and then to pull off this kind of win. So, Brian, I don't know if you wanted to go there, but I'll give you the opportunity.
Well, here it leads me to a good one too, because I thought after I saw you guys playing your scrimmage against New Rochelle, I thought you guys had a good chance to win the game. I thought you guys were really solid. Now, so one of the things, just a couple questions I have. One would be, okay, what's the difference between week 0 and week 1? What happened there? Why did you do so well against PC? And what was it? What was the big difference here in your team coming back after lost to Bergen Catholic now and beating Paramus Catholic?
From an offensive standpoint, to be honest with you, I thought we did a pretty good job against Bergen Catholic. The one thing we didn't do, I thought we didn't protect the quarterback rate. We didn't really give up. I think we gave up 1 sack toward the end of the game, but he took a couple shots, that I'd rather he didn't take. But last week, they really didn't get close to him. They really did a good job protecting. He had time all night, and he was able to, go through his progressions and, sometimes get to the second and third progression. And, and I thought that was a big difference for us. And also, we were able to win first down against Paramus Catholic on a consistent basis. We're getting 5-6 yards a clip on first down, and that kind of loosens them up, and then you're able to throw the ball on first down. And I think that was a huge difference in the PC game to the Bergen Catholic game. But, just the experience of playing a team as good as Bergen Catholic in our first game, I think, just made a huge difference for us. That any time in this league, you're a little more battle tested when you played another league opponent, and they hadn't done that yet. They had played an out-of-state game previously. So, I thought that made a big difference for us as well.
Talk about Vinny DePaul. I know you do offense, but how did he do tackle-wise on defense?
He played great on defense last week. He always does, but this week he was a little more involved. They probably ran the ball more than Bergen Catholic did against us. And, whenever they run the ball, he's going to be a huge factor. But he played great defensively. The thing that maybe not everybody knows about Vinny is I think he's every bit as good a player on offense as he is on defense. I think he could be a college-level fullback. He catches the ball. He's an unbelievable blocker. And he's clearly, the heart and soul of our team,
Right.
So spoken like a true offensive coordinator there.
Hey, Nick, can I ask one other question? A follow-up here is separately. Did you see your Bergen Catholic play, your brother's school? Did you see that game, or what were your thoughts on that?
I didn't actually. I did. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I was actually at the Seton Hall, Don Bosco. I was watching my other brother Saturday. So
tell us about that game then. What did you think about that game? Your other brother's game.
Yeah, I thought they gave him everything they can handle. In a lot of ways, they almost outplayed Don Bosco, but they're very young, and I think again the experience factor played a part for them. They had the ball inside the 1 yard line twice, and only came away with 3 points. So if they're able to punch at least one of those in, it's a different game, and it would have went right down to the wire.
So what do you think you guys have to do against Don Bosco in the next game you play them? What do you think now that you've seen them? What do you guys have to do?
Give us the entire scouting report, please.
I'm not going to get too much of that. You know me.
Spoken like a true Campanile there.
No doubt. But obviously, in the box, I think they're as good as anybody. Their defensive line is just tremendous. So we need to control the line of scrimmage, try and win first down. A thing for us, as Jimmy mentioned before, one of the things we try to do with our offense is to hold the ball, and win the time of possession. We've been able to do that 2 weeks in a row now, and I think, going ahead, that's going to be the same type of game plan. We're going to try to run the ball early, hopefully loosen it up and let Taquan do his thing, the second half. So, so it'll be a very similar game plan to the last two, I think.
Go ahead, Jimmy. What else you got?
Yeah, Nick, when people mention DePaul, the people that cover the game, they all say the same thing. Very, very talented team, not a lot of depth. The knock has been, whether it's true or not, that with the lack of depth, if you can get them into the third and fourth quarter, that, you might be able to come away with the win because they wear down. How much do your kids, the coaches, and how much do the kids take it personally that, that has been out there? Because obviously in the second half, the other night against Paramus Catholic, you put the, pedal to the metal and you wind up blowing them out. How do you work with that? And, how do you get the message, to the kids that, hey, we have to be ready for 4 quarters?
Right. So that's something we've been talking about since day one, since January, since we started working out in the winter. We have to be in tip-top shape because it's true. We don't have the numbers that the other schools do. And a lot of our guys are two-way players. So we practice very hard. We're very demanding on them in practice. We practice 3 hours and we practice both sides of the ball every day in practice. So, we try to simulate a game pretty much every day of the week in practice. And so far it's paid off. Looking back at the Bergen Catholic film, I don't think it was so much us wearing down as, we made a couple mental mistakes in the second half and we blew a couple coverages on defense. And I really don't think it was a physical factor. I don't feel like our kids were tired in the second half. I just think, they just got some great athletes and they were able to get behind us, offensively and offensively. Again, a couple mental mistakes, a couple penalties in the second half led to some 3 and outs and and a turnover. So, but you're right. I mean that's been the number one thing we've coached from day one with this team is we have to be mentally tougher than every opponent we face because, our guys are going to be going both ways. They're going to play. Some of them are going to play 125 to 150 snaps a game. So, you have to try to simulate that as much as you can in practice.
Oh, that's easy to do. Okay, boys, 125 plays. Now, but seriously, we've had Nunzio on, multiple times over the years here. He's one of our favorite guests, and because he's so honest about, the state of high school football, the state of, high-level, non-public, the big boy football, and his quote that when he said, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, that it's best on best every week. And DePaul didn't necessarily enter into this willingly. It was kind of thrust upon him. Right. Just talk about the DePaul side of it, where, when Coach Toll started this juggernaut, of, big-time North Jersey non-public football, to now where DePaul has to play that if they want to play football. So, give us the smaller school side of it and the challenges that you guys face doing that.
Right. So obviously it hasn't been easy, and you're right. I think, initially it was kind of, how are we going to play with those guys, but Coach McKenna has done an unbelievable job of building this program. From day one it was, all right, if we're going to compete with these guys, we're going to give them everything we got. And, he's done a good job of having the right talent in the program, and he's really a hardworking guy, and the kids really believe in what he's doing. And they love to play for him, and it's funny you mentioned Coach Toll. He reminds me of Coach Toll quite a bit, just in the way he goes about practice and coaching toughness, all the things that I think are the most important, and that's why I love coaching for the guy. But the job he's done to me is as good as anybody, because he started, at the bottom with these guys. They were playing Group 1 and 2 schools, 7-8 years ago, and now we're competing with the best teams, not only in the state, but really in the country.
Yeah.
On a weekly basis.
Yeah, every week.
So it's really been an incredible job he's done. And I've just gotten here. This is only my second year, so I can't take credit for any of that.
Yep.
That's really all been him.
It's funny because I've been covering DePaul. Many years ago, I worked for a paper in Passaic County, and we covered it. I covered DePaul under Coach Lennon when they were playing in the NHC Skyline Conference, and they were getting, Lakeland was handing them their lunch, and so it really is interesting to have seen from afar just the evolution of the program. Jimmy, you got something else?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, just the fact I know you guys have a bye week this week. How important is it for you guys to have a bye week coming off, two big physical games like Bergen Catholic and Paramus Catholic?
Yeah, absolutely. It really could not come at a better time. We're still a little banged up. Nothing really serious, but we've got some guys that are, really banged up, taking a physical toll on them, these two games. Like you said, they're both physical opponents, the guys we just played. So it couldn't come at a better time. And you look at it on the schedule, and it's only week 2. But, you would think that's a really early bye week. But really, we've been going for about 7 weeks now. We've been going full go since camp. So we're about the midway point of the season. So it's actually, it couldn't, like I said, it couldn't come at a better time for us. So, we're going to take this week to try and get healthy, and get started on the game plan for next week, but we really won't get into it till later in this week and early in next week. So,
yeah, it's going to be quite a roller coaster, no doubt about it, until the whole thing wraps up, hopefully for you in MetLife Stadium. So, Jimmy, we have had Nunzio, we have had Vito, now we have had Nicky Campanile on the show here, completing the great triumvirate of brother coaches around North Jersey, and we appreciate you coming on here, giving us some time, and hopefully it will not be the last time that we hear from you, because DePaul is a great story, and we're going to keep close tabs on you, Coach.
And whatever, we have to get the other brother. What about the other brother? Let's get Anthony on the show.
We got to get Anthony.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I'm actually going up. I'm going up there this week, and they're playing Notre Dame, so I'm going to go up and see that on Saturday. So I'll let them know. You guys like to have.
Tell him we'll be looking for him. We'll be looking for him.
Jimmy, you got him in the old contacts list there in the smartphone.
Oh, we have him. I think he's a little preoccupied. Like Nicky said, they have Notre Dame this week, and they play some team from South Carolina, Clemson, I think, the following week. So
Clemson.
Once he gets through those two, we'll see what we can do.
All right. Yes, Clemson.
The only guy Notre Dame has a kid that tore up North Jersey a few years ago, and Brandon Wimbush too played for St. Peter's too.
Yep.
Should be fun.
Yeah, those guys at Boston College, they might be the only team that's got a tougher schedule than we do.
Well,
they play everybody, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The ACC is a rough go too. It's almost like the Big North. What is that? The United that you play? I don't even know what these leagues are called anymore. But great stuff, Nick. Great to have you on the show. We appreciate your time. Best of luck. Congratulations on the win. Best of luck going forward, and we'll talk to you soon on the Monday Morning Quarterback.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, gentlemen, that concludes the guest portion of this show. Great stuff there, obviously, from Mike Quick and from Nick Campanile. That was fun. But let's talk about some of the other hot topics of the week that was and the week that's coming up. And, Brian, let's start with you. Friday night, it was your maiden voyage and now you've been taking photographs for NorthJerseySports.com for the better part of a couple of years and contributing on shows and doing a whole bunch of other things. But you were the staff writer assigned to Westwood Mahwah. That story is still available on the front page of NorthJerseySports.com. Why don't you take us through what was a rematch of last year's North 1 Group 2 state sectional final played at MetLife Stadium? The condensed version.
Hey, you know what? We had some really good athletes coming back. The two kids from Westwood are back, Sean Hopkins and Joe Kramer. So, we've got the kids from last year who were stars last year that came back. Mahwah, good team, young though, very young. And I think they have a lot of potential coming out. The quarterback, Kyle Teal, he's going to be probably, hopefully he could be a star. He's only a sophomore, threw a couple nice passes. And he's got a family lineage that goes way back from the Teal family. Back and forth game, very slow to start. Both teams really slow in the first quarter, a lot of turnovers. And then it started to pick up second quarter. Good second quarter. And Mojo moved back and forth. And then somehow went in the halftime tied. And then in the second half, really, Westwood woke up and took it to them. First drive of the second half, they scored right down the field and then turned around and scored right after it again. So kind of got that momentum early in the second quarter or third quarter. And then we went on. Our feature guy is our Jaden Brown, the junior or the sophomore whose brother played last year. He had a coming out party, and the kid had over 100 yards in the second half, 2 TDs. So, I think probably the difference there, defense was solid, obviously, for Westwood because it shut them down, Mahwah down. So 2 good teams, and we said in the story, we expect them maybe to have a rematch later in the season.
Now, Bright, obviously you are the brightest star in the NorthJerseySports.com football insider Milky Way for sure. But all the heavy hitters were out for that game. The WCTV crew, our favorites, Larry LaFreri and John Francola, were also there. And I loved what you did. You grabbed those guys, friends of yours, and you got the rapid reaction to the 42-21 win by Westwood. So let's take a quick listen to the interview that Brian did with the crew of the WCTV TV network.
Brian Carr here at NorthJerseySports.com. I'm here post-game after a big Westwood victory here in Mahwah. Westwood wins 41-21. I'm here with the Double Trouble, Larry and John, WCTV. Guys, we talked about the game before, what was going to happen, what we thought was going to happen in the game. I think we picked it was like 35-20, 31-21, 35-14. Close. Tell us about the game. What do you think, Larry?
Well, you come away from this game and you think about it. I'm looking at number 8 there, Jaron Brown. The plays that he made so athletic. The first touchdown he ran, his speed was able to just get away from everybody. He got it in for into the pylon for a touchdown. But I also come away looking at the kid Teal. Now, he had a lot of interceptions, but that comes from inexperience and being a sophomore, playing a very good defensive team. I was impressed with Mahwah. This score, 41-21, doesn't indicate the actual game. This game was a close game.
They had, 8 turnovers?
8 turnovers. And I said it on the air, and I'll say it again. This team, Mahwah, I wouldn't want to play them if I have them the 5th, 6th, or 7th week. Because I think they're going to get better. They got outstanding special teams, wide receivers and quarterback, and they're just going to be
Johnson, excellent. Teal, I tell you what, I'm impressed with this young man. Sophomore, can run with the ball, can pass with the ball. I mean, fantastic game. They had how many turnovers? 8 turnovers.
Yeah.
At least 8 turnovers.
There's at least five interceptions. And a few fumbles.
5 hits, 2 interceptions. So, I mean, Westwood's going to have to tighten up a few things here and there.
Mint played very well. The young man, number 10.
They can run the ball. I think Mahwah, being a very young team, has a bright future. And I think the future could be this year after a couple of games. They get some of the crinks out of it. And I think they're going to be surprised a lot of people. Keep your eye on that team.
First half, I thought the offensive line and defensive line of Mahwah played outstanding. They were moving the players all over the field. They were able to run. They were making mistakes, interception, fumbles. But this team, I tell you, the coach is doing a great job with these young men. They're going to be a team to be reckoned with. A lot of speed.
I think what happened in the second quarter, kind of like last week we were saying, remember? Second quarter down at BC. But today, the score was 14-7. Westwood was down. Mahwah was up. They had scored 2 touchdowns in a row. And Westwood had to move the ball. Finally, Westwood moved the ball late to score right before half. Remember that?
They had three passes to Hans Visage.
Right.
And Hans Visage went all the way down to about the 10-yard line to the 6-yard line. And then, of course, she had the run by Hopkins. You interviewed Hopkins, went 6 yards for a touchdown. That was big because the mojo was totally on Mahwah at that point.
I thought Mahwah outplayed them in the first half. The score wasn't indicative. The fumble that was run in was basically a gift.
Right,
but then once they came out, they scored that touchdown. They went in tight. They came out and they went on the ground. They didn't throw the ball. They went up 20-14, and from that point on, they just took off.
All right, Brian, good stuff there with Larry and John. Everything you need to know about Westwood Mahwah there in that 3-minute clip. Let's move on. I was on Saturday. Well, Friday night, I went to... Here, Jimmy, you'll be interested in this. Now, Demarest has started a new tradition where senior night is on opening weekend. Their first home game, they do senior night. So I am the photographer over there for Demarest, so I had to get over there. I took some band pictures. I took some pictures of the kids warming up. And then I said, I'm going to stay around. I'm going to see Demarest Snyder on opening night, write a story, everything else. About 1 minute in, it was 7-0 Demarest, then it was 14-0, and then I got in the car. So no story on that, but that's where I was on Friday night. Saturday, I went down and saw back to my roots, some good old-fashioned Group 1 football. Cresskill against Saddlebrook, in Saddlebrook, on the natural grass field. I mean, it felt like 1985. I felt like I was in 9th grade all over again watching that game. And 7-6. Came down to one play here or there. Cresskill scored on their first possession. Then Saddlebrook chased them. Their defense played great. Chased them all the way down into the fourth quarter. 2.5 minutes to go. Saddlebrook scores on a trick play, a little halfback toss, touchdown, misses the extra point. Just wasn't smooth from the get-go. They lose 7-6. But, Jimmy, you're as big a Group 1 fan as I am. Those games are fun to watch, but it also leads into our conversation about numbers.
Yeah, no question. I was fortunate enough, me, I love to go down and watch Hasbrook Heights on Route 17 on Friday, defending North 1 Group 1 champions, and taking on a very much improved St. Mary's squad. They were a little bit down this year. I was impressed with St. Mary's, their size of their lines, their athletic skill kids, and their tailback. Shawan Gresham, who had 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. But, when you talk about Group 1 football, Hasbrook Heights, football is still very much important in that town. And it's obvious when you go to a Friday night game there. I mean, they lose Frankie Quattrone, the outstanding quarterback. And, it's amazing. They just seem to build. The next kid steps up. Senior quarterback James Clank threw 2 touchdowns and ran effectively. And the kid that we all saw last year, Josiah Purdy, the wide receiver, as a sophomore, we were all impressed with his athleticism. He was a sophomore. We were waiting to see if he would mature a little bit physically and more importantly, mentally, and he certainly did. He had 2 touchdown catches. He took a couple of tough shots where maybe last year he would have wandered over to the bench. He stayed in. Heights was up 28-7. 10 minutes into the third quarter, and all of a sudden here came St. Mary's. They made a 28-26 game, went for 2, did not get it, and, for Hasbrook Heights, they were able to run the clock the last 5 minutes of the game But, it was a good opener for Hasbrouck. Very, very physical St. Mary's team. And I think Hasbrouck really needs that, a week off mentally and physically.
Yeah, you say a good opener for Hasbrouck Heights, which it was. They're replacing a lot of guys. I mean, Frankie Quattrone was, 80% of that offense last year. So they get the win. But I think also a great opener for St. Mary, who had let's just say a rare down season for them last year. The three of us were all at the opener last year against Hasbrouck Heights, and that was non-competitive from the get-go. It was also about 110 degrees, so we all left at halftime. But it just shows the strides that program has made, too. And I think important not only for Hasbrouck Heights, in their, drive to repeat as North 1 Group 1 state sectional champions, but important for St. Mary to say, hey, we can play with anybody in the NJIC. We just did it with Hasbrouck Heights, and maybe that spurs them on a little bit. Let's go. Go ahead.
Go ahead. They are very big up front, offensively and defensively. They're very physical, and they have a breakaway running back. And when you have those, you have that combination, you're a very, very dangerous football team.
Let's go around North Jersey here, some of the other games. I wrote some down. Bri, I don't know if you have any that were in front of you, too, and you can jump in whenever you want. But I'm going to start with Riverdale 22, Pascack Valley 21. Now, had I not been the official photographer of senior night at Northern Valley Regional High School at Demarest, I would have been at the Riverdale Pascack Valley game. I rue the fact that I was not there. Estevez does it again for Riverdale, the defending North 1 Group 3 state sectional champions. Get off to a great start with a emotional, well-deserved victory. Bri, Riverdale is at it again.
Right. We were following it from Mahwah, watching it close. They were trailing, the Pascack Valley, who, we haven't heard much about them. They're a little down the last couple of years. But obviously, David Estevez last year in the championship game against Old Capan came through in the clutch for them. And here again in overtime. I mean, they had to go for two. They also had to go for two for the win, and they did. And they closed the deal. So Riverdale ranked number 1 in some polls. So the up and coming, a lot of expectations for that team. Oh, as normal, they've made the playoffs since 2006 is the last time they haven't made it. So very successful program under DJ Nymphius.
Yes, maybe we should call him Jimmy. Maybe we should call him Dr. Tom Osborne. He'll be a guest later on in the season here on the Monday Morning Quarterback. But going for 2 in a big game to win it, you get some cojones there from DJ. Not shocking either.
Yeah, when you have I call that kid Estevez the magic man. When you have him in your huddle, you're never out of the game.
Agreed.
And you never not believe, no matter what the circumstances are, that you're going to come back. And when he's on the field, you kind of. When I was following the Twitter, reports that all of a sudden they got the ball back and they were driving, in your mind you kind of know that they're going to score a touchdown and he's going to get the 2-point conversion, and he did it again, and it's a great win for them. And not to mention, not mention Pascack Valley, a team that was very young last year and took some lumps and got better and better. And they went out and they almost took out the number 1 public school in the Bergen record poll. So,
right.
Good for Coach Cusimano and Pascack Valley.
Yeah, last year was a year of transition for Pascack Valley. They had been to the state final 3 straight times, I think, right? Am I correct? Or they won 2 in a row and then they made it back to the final. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so then, last year, and they started off miserably last year, I think 0-4 or started to get it together, and, now it shows that they're back because Riverdale is good. We're talking about Heights and Marys, and we'll see where those two teams wind up. We expect that they'll both be good, but Riverdale is good with Estevez as the quarterback, the reigning Barton's Best Player of the Year, Dave Estevez from Riverdale. So, Pascack Valley can find a lot of comfort in that game, too. They did take the champs right down to the wire. Wayne Hills 29, Ramapo 24. In Franklin Lakes, one of North Jersey's best rivalries, public school rivalries, year in, year out. Used to be great when they were in the NBIL. And Jimmy, again, Wayne Hills just finds a way to win, just like they did last year in the North 1 Group 4 state sectional final.
Yeah, no question. They had lost. They went out, and I give them credit for going out and taking on a very tough, Canton McKinley team in Ohio, and they got beat up with a young team, and they were down early. They were down a couple of touchdowns to Ramapo early, and they found the way to get it done. We had gone to see Ramapo, Ridgewood. Brian was with us, game scrimmage the week before, Ramapo came out guns a-blazing early against Ridgewood, and then kind of lost momentum, and Ridgewood wound up beating them, and it was a carbon copy from the game scrimmage to week 1. So I know Coach, Gibbs is not happy about not being able to finish those games. When you have that lead, you have to be able to finish, and I'm sure that's what he'll be working on the next couple of weeks.
Yep. All right, sticking in the New Jersey Super Football Conference?
Yes, it is.
which includes every team now in every team that we're talking about, just about, except the NJIC schools. Bri, I had to mention this one. Ramsey 19, Dumont 14. The Fighting Huskies gave it a go against a good Ramsey team. Give us the inside scoop on what's happening down by the tracks in Dumont, New Jersey. Bri.
Oh, sorry about that. I had you on mute. Sorry about that. But I was,
you had us on mute, Bri? We're doing the show here. You can't mute us.
I just want to make sure. I didn't want to make sure there's no background noise here, But anyway, I was following them remotely. They were trailing 14-7 at half. I hear very good game. They hung in there and played well. I mean, they're struggling offensively. They don't have big quarterback, big running back, but it's nice to see Ramsey's coming off a win over Richfield Park. They really dominated Richfield Park, and here Dumont goes up to Ramsey, and it was competitive. There's not a lot of expectations there. They don't have a stack of really star kids that we see. Hey, look at all these stars. My kid I really like a lot is Stephen Cabone. Stephen's really a hustler. He plays offensive line, and he's a D end. Great kid, and good kid, but also really other people know about him, and he plays hard. So I think he's kind of the leader of that group of the team. So you know what? You want the kids to play well and be competitive. That's at the end of the day. You're not going to win every game. So, and this week they're playing a game that they could win. They happen to be playing Cliffside Park, who won 2 weeks ago. So they can win, and they'll keep them building because they have a tough schedule. They got to play Mahwah, Westwood the next couple weeks after. So they need something to build their confidence because they're going to have a tough time with both of those two teams. So,
yes.
Hey, let's go Huskies.
But be on the lookout for those of you in Dumont with the graduation of the beloved Ryan Botto. Our head Husky, Brian Carr, is on the lookout for a new Twitter target who he will be adding and direct messaging his Husky pride all over the place. Is Stephen Cabone the front runner at this point?
Yes. Well, by the way, just a clarification there. Ryan Botto is a St. Joe's graduate,
but a Dumont kid,
a Dumont resident.
Yes,
he's a Dumont kid. And I'll plug for Ryan Botto. Ryan Botto is playing up at Merrimack College. I didn't see if he played this past week, but his team did win this past week, so he's playing football up in the Merrimack. No, it's Merrimack College up in Massachusetts.
Jimmy, have we had a Kevin Kazakowski sighting as of late?
We have not. You lose Kevin Kazakowski, who's been a star for Rutherford. They had a very nice opening day win. I just wanted to mention that against Glenrock. So, Rutherford's got a program going there. Yeah,
I under my NJIC notes, I had the Hasbrook Heights game, I had the Rutherford 19, Glenrock 14, and it's same score. How about Wallington out of the gate with a 19-14 win over Woodridge, a Woodridge team that I think is going to be pretty good. I saw them last year. They had a talented junior class. I saw them on a bad night against Beckton, but they have some talent coming back. They the prognostication was they're in for a good season, and Wallington beats them, and that's good to see a Wallington team who I haven't heard from since they won a state title probably 5 or 6 years ago, Jimmy.
Yeah, no question. I know, Woodridge. We saw them. Brian saw us with him at the 7-on-7 at Hasbrook Heights in June. That Mikey Jean Castro, their quarterback, was also their shortstop in baseball.
Yep.
3-year starter, 4-year starter in defense, 3-year starter at quarterback. They have some very good wide receivers and skilled kids. And, if you're Woodridge, you kind of needed to get, spring into success with a win. And unfortunately, Wallington, defeated them the other night. It's a great win for the Panthers.
Yep. That was all I had on my list. We talked a lot about the parochials tonight. Just another note I made was that St. Peter's Prep, St. Joseph Regional, and Bergen Catholic all lost to out-of-state opponents. And Bosco, other than DePaul's win, which we just talked about at length, Bosco was the only other winner in our Big Six, the 21-13 win over Seton Hall Prep. So It's going to be a wild season. We're going to be here for all of it. We got our technical difficulties ironed out. The rest of the season here on the Monday Morning Quarterback is going to be smooth sailing as we catch up week after week on the goings-on, on the gridiron around North Jersey. Thanks for listening, and check out Mike Quick's show Saturday, ESPN Radio. Again, we thank him for coming on. We thank Nick Campanile, and we will see you next week on the Monday Morning Quarterback.
Follow the leader.